Chinch, support this week for the mayor's office is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0, baby. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code THEMAYOR at manscaped.com. I tell you what, though, I love these things, Chinch. I've had Manscaped 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and this is the 4.0. This one has a new sleek design. It's perfect for guys like me, though, dude. I'm one of the hairiest guys going.
That's a fact.
And that's the fact. And forever, man, forever, I've been looking for the best trimmers. Even going way back years when I was playing, I'd always nick myself up, cut myself as the worst. These trimmers right here, man, they are the best. They are the absolute best. Trims up my back, trims up my arm, the jewels, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But this trimmer is the absolute best. The 4.0, the Lawnmower from Manscaped.
I can vouch for that. I know Sean wears a sweater 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and he needs this. He sent me one. I'm so psyched. I shave with it. That's how good it is. That's how
yeah, and Chinch, I've tried every one you could try. Every clipper you could possibly buy, I've tried.
Yeah.
This by far is the best.
Yeah, Sean puts a clipper on his, it'll break the clippers, but not the Manscaped.
Yeah.
So here's what you gotta do.
Everyone should have this, bro. Everyone should have one of these.
They absolutely should. So here's how you get it, okay? You get 20% off and free shipping with the code THEMAYOR, right, Sean? The Mayor?
Yes.
At manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping, manscaped.com, and use the code THEMAYOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped, and you can look as clean as Casey does now. When he doesn't use a Manscaper, it's like Sasquatch. There's people call cops. Unbelievable.
Lawnmower 4.0. Go get it. It's unbelievable, Chinch.
Do it.
We're back at it, Chinch. We're
excited.
back at it, baby. It's going to be a good one today, brother. They all seem good, but this, when you get a guy that's a dear friend of yours coming in the mayor's office, man, this one's going to be a really fun one with our man, Jim Thome. But Jimmy, before we get to Jimmy, what's so funny, Chinch and I, we always get together. We're like, okay, let's make sure we get our guest and we line it up, all the good stuff about him. And, what we decided to do with Jim, we went right to his Cooperstown plaque. We thought that would be a good way to introduce him, which is the best way. All right, here we go. Played for 6 teams: Cleveland from 91 to 2002, again in 2011. Played with the Phillies from 03 and 05, and then again in 2012. He loves going back for another year later on his career. White Sox 06, 09, Dodgers 09, Twins, where he hit his 600, 2010, 2011. Baltimore for 1 year. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. This is how your plaque reads when you're as legit as Jim Thome in Cooperstown. Lefty slugger powered his way through a 22-year Major League career. Wow. 612 bombs, right? I don't like they said textbook uppercut swing. No, you don't go to left center with the swing he had being an uppercut. But that's another question I'm going to ask him. Authored 6 seasons of at least 40 homers and 12 with 30 or more, which, Rick, if you've ever played Major League Baseball, it's so hard to do. Drove in 1,699 runs, including 9 years with 100 or more. Drew 1,747 walks, pacing the AL 3 times. Led Cleveland to the 95-97 AL pennants, 5-time All-Star. Began his career at third base, and that's why I got traded to the Reds, because when he went to first, I said, you're not as good as Toby. You go to Cincinnati. And became the 8th player to top 600 home runs, requiring the second fewest at bats to do so. Number 1, a guy named Babe Ruth. Okay, when you're 1 and 2, when your name's Jim Thome at 2 and Babe Ruth at 1, you know you're doing something right. Jimmy Thome coming in the mayor's office. What's going on, Jimmy?
Thanks, fellas. It's great to see both of you. We were just talking this morning, Case, on the phone. about just, our relationship at the network and what it meant to all of us. So for me to come on and be a part of this, obviously it's snowing, it's January, but I'm so excited to come on and see both of you guys. I miss both of you guys and love you both.
Same here, Jimmy, man. Hall of Fame human, by the way, for anybody that has never met Jim Thome.
Of course, that's almost a given. First off, Jimmy, we were just talking a little bit ago. Jim Thome obviously is, has a statue of himself, and obviously one of the most humble guys ever. But Jim Thome's power also goes out too because he's a normal person. You called earlier and you're like, "Hey, Case, we can't start on time. The power's out here. What's going on? What's going on now?"
I think it's cold weather. It's a little bit of mixture of cold weather and hopefully they'll get the power on quickly. I was thinking, Case, I was actually thinking you were taking BP and the power went out. You adjust. In life, in baseball, you adjust. We're actually, I was so excited to come on today. I had everything set up. And then I text Case and go, "Oh my gosh, if the power's out here, what do we do?" So we'll make the adjustments like you did on the curveball.
I love it, dude. Game of adjustments, baseball and life, which I love, man. Jimmy, I have so many places to go here, bro, because obviously of our friendship, of my time coming up with Cleveland, you being there. But I want to go back a little bit because get to know your family, man, and your brothers, your sister, your dad, obviously your mom, how big of a part she was in your life. Can you take us back to Peoria, Illinois, back in the day, to the Thome residence, man? What was it like growing up with your family out there in Peoria?
It was amazing. We were very, like I think most of our families, having dinner, coming home, sitting around, talking just about what happened in your day. I was fortunate. I grew up in a sports family. My brothers all played sports. My dad's side of his side played softball. They played baseball. My aunt played softball, was very, very good at what she did as well. And it was, I think, values, being at home. You think of right now, it's the holidays. I remember, just sitting around and just having family time and truly, we all rooted for each other, right? At the end of the day, you want to genuinely, when good things happened to my sister, it made you smile. When good things happened to my brothers, it made you laugh and smile. My parents, from the day I signed Case to the day I played Little League on through college, they were always there. They supported all of us. And I think that rubbed off on all of us. I think now you look at it, we're doing that with my kids, my sisters, my brothers, all are doing that with their kids. And it's a close knit, really cool, just family that we were all very supportive of each other.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, in that town with the Caterpillar plant being such a big part, Jimmy, being around you so much, bro, you're such a kind person. You're a very grateful person. Obviously, you're one of the best players ever played the game, but you would never know it when you're around you. There was always a blue collarness to you, brother. When you were always hitting in the cages. You were always in the weight room lifting. There was always a man, like a modern day Paul Bunyan figure. You know what I mean? Did you get that from growing up in that town, from your house? Was that blue collar mentality just a big part of you growing up?
I think it was. I think, when you look, I only knew what I knew, and that's what my dad did. My dad got up, he worked hard, he went to Caterpillar, he came home, he umpired, he refereed basketball games in the winter, umpired baseball in the summer. I grew up around the game. And then I watched my brothers go about their work ethic, and even my sisters, how hard they worked at their jobs. It was all, I think it was instilled in us. And then it comes from mom, right? Mom every day is kind of driving the bus on how the day would go. And I see that now with Andrea, my wife. we adjust to what they want us to do during the day for the best of our family. And the work ethic, look, at the end of the day, I think it comes from inside, but you're taught that at a young age to have that work ethic and to want more, like never be satisfied. Like I was very fortunate, and we'll, I'm sure as we go through this, we'll dive into the Charlie Manuels of the world, my teammates, yourself, Richie Sexton, all the great teammates I had that I just watched and kind of wanted to be a part of that work ethic. And, we were all brothers, but at the end of the day, the way Sean Casey and Richie Sexton and on down the line, all the teams that I played on, those type of players is what you truly admire. I admired the fact that all of us would go out early in spring training and believe it or not, we would work on our defense. We worked on defense and we were all very talented offensively. We all could swing the bat. That's what got us there. But that work ethic that the Indians organization ingrained into us really was what we always knew as kids. And I was just fortunate to have a great family. They loved my mom and dad loved all of their kids, and we loved them. It was when my parents would come to a game case, I got so excited because it was what it was all about, watching them and the joy that the game gave to them, and their son being a part of Major League Baseball is just so cool.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you have your brothers and your dad and whatever. You mentioned the female influences in your life, your sisters, your mom, your aunt. I think in your Hall of Fame speech, when somebody mentioned, you mentioned that when everybody says, "Oh, you're such a nice guy, you're such a nice guy," you said, "That's because of my mom." I have a different question for you. You have one of your sisters a twin? Is that a fact?
I have a twin sister, Jenny, yeah.
Okay, so when she, the poor girl, junior and senior year, is getting ready to go to the prom and she wants to date boys, and then there's this cluster of enormous human being men, one of which is lived with her for 9 months before life. What was that like for your sisters to grow up with you guys?
Well, they knew they were protected. They knew they were protected.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, like we wanted whoever dated them to treat them kindly. And I was so lucky. Both of my sisters' husbands now, I love them like brothers. They're great. They're hard workers. They obviously didn't play sports, but they worked very hard at what they do. My daughter right now is dating, and I was telling my wife, I was talking to Andrea about this. As a father, we always have this front of nobody's ever going to be good enough for your daughter. And there's a little bit of truth to that, but I genuinely I want my daughter to see me like her boyfriend, because at the end of the day, he's then going to treat her well. I hope he does. And
he better hope he does too.
I hope he does too. I hope he does too.
And that's the thing. You want them to see that you're supporting them, but also there are things that as a dad, with daughters, and I get how my dad felt when those guys, and my brothers, how they felt when those guys would come to the house. So,
Jimmy, it's funny. My daughter was dating a guy, and I had, they had broken up or whatever, and I had seen him at a basketball game or something, and I said something to him like, "Hey, what's up, man?" He's like, nothing. He didn't even answer my question. He just got, okay, good, going. How's it going? I'm like, oh, good. I like that. I like that response. That means,
a little fear.
That means I got a little fear in there. Yeah, exactly. Well,
I like Case that he was nervous. There's this little bit of nervous, and look, that's a good thing. That's a sign. that's a sign of respect to Sean Casey.
Yeah. Right. No, there's no doubt. Well, it's funny, bro, because knowing your brother Chuck, it's so funny because Jimmy's a big dude. You get next to Jim, and you're like, man, this is a big guy, big forearms, just country strong. But you get next to Chuck, Jim's brother, he makes Jim look like Dustin Pedroia. It's unbelievable. Like it's so funny. The first time I met Chuck, I'm like, wow, this guy just must eat ribeyes for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine if something happened with your sisters, I wouldn't be so worried about Jim as I am Chuck and Randy, probably more. But Chuck was a monster.
Chuck is NFL tight end defensive line big. Yes.
Yes.
Chuck is a wonderful human being. Like I've been very lucky. My brothers pushed me. They kind of taught me how to play the game. They, from a competitive end, when we would play either driveway basketball or, I'm much younger than them. So I was always the real small brother. But I would say this, having two older brothers that were competitive and that played the game hard and pushed me, it was something I always remember, and I'm grateful that they did it. But they always had respect and vice versa. That's what I think. Did Jimmy? Did they ever let you win in basketball? Did they ever just let you win? No. And I'll guarantee if you talk to them both, they will say they would never let me win. But I got good enough where I beat them, and that was what was so great at the end of the day, knowing that you did it.
Right. Oh my God, dude, that's so great. So you played your sports. You were obviously a great basketball player too. I remember when I got drafted, I was in John Hart's box, and they were talking about you as an athlete. They're like, man, Jim Thome's a big guy, but like just moved him from third to first base. But hey, when we were recruiting this, or when they were doing the winter development program or something like that, like Jim Thome could dunk. I'm like, meanwhile, I couldn't get the net at the time, so I'm like, do you have to be able to dunk the hit in the big leagues? I'm like, no, this guy. They just wanted to prove that you were such a good athlete. And you went in your first year of college at a high school. You played both basketball and baseball. Yeah. So I got two questions here. My first question is, did basketball help you as a baseball player? And second off, man, with kids these days, and you got two kids, and especially with Landon being younger and influential. Do you recommend that he plays multiple sports, and what's your feeling on that?
So this, I definitely recommend that all kids play multiple sports. Now, the resources that these facilities are giving us parents to have our kids practice baseball for, say, year round is amazing, Case. I mean, we have two indoor facilities here in Chicago, both called the Bo Dome, the Bo Jackson Dome, and we practice out of that dome. Now, there's kids that play travel basketball. My son, Landon, does not play basketball because last year's COVID and then leading into this year, the program of the winter training has ramped up. But what he does is he goes up to the local kind of club or Lifetime Fitness, and he'll go in and get 5, maybe 10, 12 kids and play open gym, which I love. I love that. I love that, there's balance in every regard. Like, he's getting his baseball fix. And my big thing as his dad, and hopefully knowing what I know in baseball, like I want their arms protected this time of year. That right or left arm, that's all you have. And in November and December, we monitor very closely how much our kids are throwing the baseball. Now, from an aspect of taking ground balls and hitting in the cage, you can always master your craft and get better every day from an offensive and a defensive end. But it's balance. It's balance mentally also, that I don't want my son just to practice baseball year round. I want him to be able to go play flag football. I want him to be able to go play open gym of hoops. And to get back to your question, Case, yes, basketball helped me. And I'll never forget Buddy Bell. You know, when I came to spring training and I was struggling defensively at third base, Buddy knew that I played basketball. And he always told me, Jim, play basketball in the winter, because from the aspect defensively, from left and right, laterally back and forth, it's going to be the best thing for you playing defense in the major league. So,
that's a great one.
I kept doing it until obviously I went up the ladder through the minor leagues. Then I stopped as we were doing that.
Yeah. So, and you coach your son now, right, Jimmy?
I coach my son's 14U team. Yes.
That's awesome, which we'll get into that. But just advice as a former baseball player, I always ask a lot of the guys, like, when your kid comes home and he's got that stance wrong, your son doesn't have to deal with that because you're standing there. I mean, in case we're talking about this earlier. But what's your advice to these coaches and the dads and the moms who, wow, my kid's pretty good, and then they get that motor running and they start jamming them into winter ball, spring ball, like just general advice for dads and moms about how to coach your kid when they like the game and they want to be better at it.
So it's probably, I think Sean can attest to this. Like, it's the biggest thing that we get asked is, like, what's too much? How much should they practice? How much, my advice is, look, I think you got to enjoy the game, and only they will tell you that. Like, at the end of the day, if they're enjoying it, then you as a parent have to embrace it. One of our rules after a game, and Landon, I think he was either 9 or 10, was we're not going to talk about anything that happened during the game for 24 hours. And then if he wanted to bring it up the next day, we can talk about it. But we were always, after a game, it was like, hey, let's go get barbecue ribs, or let's go get a shake, or let's just go enjoy the father-son moment. And then you kind of, then what happens is all the little, I don't want my son or kids to think that every time they play, they're doing something wrong, if that makes sense. Because let's face it, guys, we do that at the major league level. Like, you can pick out so many things a kid or a player is doing wrong. I used to tell Paul Konerko this, like, you have a hat, right? Like, you have a hat, and every day you're going to put something in that hat, an RBI, a base hit, a base on ball. And at the end of the year, Case, you're going to add that up. And you know what? You look back and you go, you know what? I had a pretty good year. I had a pretty decent year, but I didn't get caught up into all the things that I was doing wrong. And look, there's teaching moments. There's teaching moments that you can help kids, no doubt. But boy, to get them to love the game and continue to smile, I think that's the number one goal, is to make sure they continue to love it and that they're constantly coming back to you. Hey, Dad, let's go hit. Or, hey, Dad, let's go take ground balls. When it gets to a point that they're not asking, I think that's when, as a parent, we have to rethink our strategy of how we're going about teaching them.
I love that, because I tell my kids that too. I say, listen, you got to love the game. And if you love the game, you'll want to go hit. If you love the game, you'll want to take grounders and go throw. And, unfortunately, I have two sons that are, almost like Irish twins. They're 18 months apart, I think. So they have the opportunity to go do that together. But I always said to them, like you said, Jimmy, I said, listen, I'll never ask you to go hit. But if you ask me to hit, I'll never say no. I'll be in the cages with you. I'll flip to you all day long, but I'm never going to beg you to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. And I always, and to this day, I never have. And my kids have always said, Dad, you want to go hit? Yeah, let's go. Dad, you want to go throw? Yeah, let's go. So I think when a parent sometimes is down their kids' throats saying, you got to do this. You got to be like that. You got to do it like him. You got to that guy takes 200 grounders a day. Let's go do that. Like, I don't know, man. I think that runs its course at some point where, when you're down your kid's throat, like they have to love it. And if you want to get really good at this game, you got to really love it.
You know what? You do. And I actually, I will say this, being around youth baseball now for 5 years, since Landon's been 9 years old, I give the parents a lot of credit. They really are engaged in their kids. They want what's best for their kids. There's a genuine, like watching moms and dads root for their kids when they're hitting or pitching. It's very refreshing. And look, there's a lot of time that parents put in to taking their kids on weekends to tournaments and during the week. So I really, when guys make it to the major leagues and you see them, thank their parents, these parents are working really hard. Also, I just think there's a balance between, I think, knowing when and how much to push towards how much you want to dive into, the learning aspect of this. One of the things, Case, and you can tell me because your boys are a little bit older, is when as a parent, as a Major League Baseball player, when do you back off? How much do you push? And how much do you let the next guy, the next coach, take over in teaching your son, to keep developing? Because one of the gifts our kids are always going to have is we have our eyes on them every day. Like if Sean, if your boys are doing something in the batter's box, they have that to go to. But how much do you let the coaches take over and teach your boys, and at what age does that start? Yeah,
that's a great question, Jimmy, because that's been like one of the things that I, as a dad, because sometimes I'm their dad. They don't see me as a career 300 hitter. They don't see me as having an all-star career. They see me as, you know what? And when your dad tells you stuff all the time, it gets annoying at times. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what I say. I could be given the greatest advice ever, and they're like, that's so annoying. Dad won't stop giving us advice. You know what I mean? So I know for me, my kid's going off to college. One son's at Dayton, Andrew, and my son Jake's at Kent State. I've really enjoyed that because they're getting great coaching at those schools, and now they're able to develop themselves. And with me being a little more hands off. And I tell you what, Jimmy, Landon he's almost getting close to the high school years. And at the high school years, I think it's a good thing too, because they start gauging themselves towards their friends. Okay, now I got to really step up because guys are getting bigger, guys are getting stronger, and you'll start to see I know for me, I backed off a little bit more in high school, and I really wanted them to come to me. And I think the one thing in life is, hey, listen, there's nothing more, there's nothing more irrelevant than how I think you should live your life. So I always think, like, if you want my opinion, ask for it. But instead of me always giving my opinion, I would say, hey, do you want my opinion? Yeah, I do, Dad. Okay, this is what I think. I think your hands aren't getting back enough. I don't think so. A lot of times I err on that side, Jimmy, of, hey, do you want my opinion? Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to tell you what I see. So that's something that's helped me a lot. Moving from that, Jimmy, into your back into your career. You get drafted in the 13th round by the Indians, and you go into the minor leagues. And looking at your first year in the minors, man, like you weren't that big you weren't as big as you are as you became. So you were still kind of a young buck, trying to grow into that body. And that first year in the minors, man, you wouldn't have looked at Jim Thome and said, this guy's going to be one of the most prolific home run hitters in big league history. I don't even know if you hit a home run. I know you hit about 223, maybe no homers or a couple homers. Can you talk about your development? Because I want to, and what happened and the relationship you had with Charlie Manuel, because I think this is where Jim Thome starts to become Jim Thome.
Yeah. So it took me a long time, Case. And to be quite honest, I kind of see it with my son right now, where physically he's much younger, but it took me a long time to develop and to get to a point where physically, like, so I say this, you go through high school, you go through summer ball, then you sign and you go out and play when you play basically everyday baseball in the minor leagues. One of the things I had to learn was, look, I'm going from the Midwest playing 30 games to now all of a sudden you're playing 80 and coming home. It's like, whoa, I need to get on a strength training regimen from the organization. And I always say this, Cleveland was very good. We talked earlier about their winter develop programs, bringing us into Cleveland, showing us how to work out, basically.
For Fernando Montez?
Yes.
The legend of Fernando Montez.
This is what I'm fighting right now with my son, but at a very young age, is when do you start implementing the weights in their life? Now, my son's so young, we don't even talk about lifting weights. What we talk about is rotation strength, forearm, doing things body weight wise to help you as a player, once you mature, to keep that functionally strong core base. And that's my biggest challenge right now, Case, with Landon, is just starting him out to where he's doing it the correct way, and then knowing and learning some of the things as I did through my career. So I go back to Charlie Manuel. Charlie Manuel, basically, once I physically could withstand a full grind of the season, then Charlie pretty much changed me from a mechanical end, getting me to a point where my swing would be consistently, I think we call it crisp, during the course of the year, that there weren't these highs and lows. And doing that, putting me on home plate and moving me closer to home plate, gave me plate coverage. And then as a young player, I started to add strength, I started to develop, started to add mental clarity about my game, about myself. I started believing in myself. And that's when things really kind of went this way.
Yeah. Case, before you you guys need to dive into Charlie Manuel. I know you're both excited to, but I want to read this one quote, and we were doing our research, and it was from your dad when you got into the hall. And again, it's a quote from your dad. Hopefully it's right. One juncture I remember well is that at the end of Jim's first spring training with the Indians in 1990, he was still assigned to no minor league team. Instead, the Indians put him in extended spring training and had Charlie Manuel, then a minor league instructor, working with him. The team had paid much more for some highly touted guy, which I kind of want to know who that is in a second, but Manuel kept telling them about this kid from Illinois who was the first to the ballpark and the last to leave every day. Manuel told management, "This kid will be a hitter. Whatever you do with the other guy, get Jim someplace where he's going to swing the bat. He will be a big league hitter." Is that true? All that's true?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. I mean, I followed Charlie around like a puppy dog. I did. I mean, Charlie, Case, you can attest this. I mean,
Greatest.
Charlie made you feel so comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from Charlie early was that he cared. He was in my corner, and the fact that we worked. I mean, Charlie did not talk a lot of mechanical things as a young player. We did drills. We worked and worked and worked so much that the goal was trying to master the craft of your swing. And once you found your swing, what made me get there? But also, how did I keep it? Case, you know this darn well. There's so many times you would walk going down to the cage. There's days that you would go, man, I got to find it today. I got to find it. And then there's days where when you find it, it's like, okay, I want to do the same work as yesterday to keep it. But how does this keep going on? The roller coaster ride of finding it, keeping it, and then getting back to how do I find it again? And Charlie had a great gift. He did. Charlie's work ethic was absolutely off the charts. How we worked to become good hitters. But this is the best part, guys. He knew Manny Ramirez's swing. He knew Sandy Alamar's. He knew Sean Casey's. He would never get me. He knew things that made me go that he could only say to me that I knew and he knew that made me go every day. And that's what I respect so much, was his work ethic and the fact he loved you, but he also, trust me, he was very, very tough on how we went about our work and how he demanded you to work when you got there. That's what I loved.
Jimmy, what were the things that Charlie said to you that was able to untap that? To Jim Thome, what were the things that you took from Charlie? What were they?
The things he used to say, like slow feet, quick hands, get a good pitch to hit, get ready, meaning get ready in your load. Later on, I figured it out. Once I got to a point where then I started understanding mechanically all the things he used to say to me. We used to hit on the field. Remember those little square nets, Case?
Oh, yeah.
That you would hit into behind the cage?
Yep.
And you could never hit them over it, or you'd hit the backstop.
Yeah, right.
The goal was to hit into the little round ring line drives. Well, the way Charlie flipped me, Albert Bell, Baerga, Sandy, Manny, Kenny Lofton, how he flipped us every day in that little net, really, when you think about it, helped our swings, because, and we can dive into this, we could do this for 8 hours, right. But the first move from the backside coming to the ball that he would flip low, it kept our heel on the ground. And then, as we talk today, Case, like the rotation of the back foot happens, but the first pinch, if you can pinch and keep that heel on the ground, and then rotate, that's what Charlie's drill did for all of us. And it kept us square to the baseball. And look, the work ethic that he demanded and created for us, it was something I think was a huge part of our success.
I was fortunate when we coached, Jimmy, when you and I coached the Futures game a couple years ago. I was fortunate to bring my kids in. So whenever we were waiting for the other stuff to finish the home run derby, I'm in the cages. It was me, Charlie, and my 2 sons, and I'm like, "Thank you, Lord, for letting us have this time." Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, and the stuff I can only imagine. I was only with Charlie a little bit. But you being a young kid to have that knowledge that you had, I know with my kids, he told us one thing that we still do with the kids. He said, "Case," he said, "get in the cages." He said, "turn the machine up as fast as it'll go." And so he goes, "Your kids will swing and miss at the whole bucket the first time. They'll swing and miss at the whole bucket. Don't be discouraged. You're training their eyes." He said, "The next round, they'll start touching it." He's like, and then about halfway through that round, they'll start hitting some bombs. And I tell you what, Jimmy, I did it. We went back home. I turned the machine up to 10 on 10, the hack attack. I said, "Let's go, boys." First round, they swung and missed at every one. Second round, they start touching the ball. About halfway through that second round, bro, they started hitting the ball, which earlier they couldn't even touch it. And I'm like, Charlie what a genius thing, because he wasn't talking technique. He wasn't talking mechanics. He was talking vision. And you know how important, and I know how important vision is when you're hitting a baseball, and mentality. Eventually, if you take enough reps, repetition is another skill. If you take enough reps, you will train your body and your brain to function and move at the same time. I thought that was ingenious too. I mean, some of that stuff.
Amazing.
So it's amazing. And the question you just answered my question with the brain is, you take a kid and then you crank the machine up really high. What gets him from round 1 not touching the ball to round 2 to 3? I think being a competitor, not wanting to fail. But to your point, Case, and this is where practice and repetition is good, is he got better the more he's seen the pitches probably being thrown harder.
Yeah.
Like your brain functions and goes, okay, I got to start here. Or I got to get ready a little bit. Or like that's the great part of the game is truly hard work pays off. If you give back, we used to call it deposits. If you put a deposit in, it's going to give back to you at some point. The baseball gods tend to do that very well.
Yeah, it's so cool that first of all, you guys are amazing, and I'm going to shut up a lot because I love hearing you two talk to each other.
We love you too, Chinch. Come on in.
Thanks, buddy.
We love you.
No, but just the coolest thing, one of the coolest things for me about baseball is like the preparation. When you get into the game, it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore. And it's just like everything starts twitching. And, within each at bat, you're still functioning and doing your things. But at the very end of the day, like all of that hard work, when you step into the box. Sean, you said this last week when we were talking to somebody, like all the BP you took. When you step into the box, you're just like, okay, now it's me versus you. And I'm not thinking about where my elbows are every once in a while, but I'm thinking like, okay, I've done all my work. And there's so much reaction that happens, but the reaction is based off of all of the work you put in before it. And your body just sometimes does things that you go, holy shit, it's because I've been trying to hit the ball the other way for a week. Now I'm back to here. That's one of the beauties of baseball to me, is that cat and mouse game within your own head and body and your muscles. That's amazing to hear you two amazing hitters talk about right now.
So it's so great you said that, Chinch, because about a week ago, I got in the cage and one of Landon's other coaches threw BP.
Yeah.
And, I think the fear from a hitter, it happens to all of us, is, oh, I don't want him to throw the ball by me. I got to be quicker than I really did.
Yeah.
And he threw the first BP pitch, and I crashed out there, really dove out there real quick. And I thought to myself, man, this was a learning lesson, to our boys, is just slow the game down. And believe it or not, controlling your breathing. When I don't hit a while and then I go back to the network and I do the demos, even though it's flips, it's we're hitting wiffle ball.
You're working now.
There's still a craft. There's still this kind of, okay, I don't want to embarrass myself on national TV. So the more we can slow the game down, the more we can breathe and control our body and get our body under control. I think as an athlete, that all comes out.
That's awesome.
Jimmy, what's so great there, brother, is I think that's in life, right? What do we say in life now? Now that we're not playing, we say, man, if you have any stress or anxiety, let's take some breaths. Let's breathe in for 6, hold for 8, hold for 1 and out for 8, so that, man, we can just get back to getting someone, change our state, get into a good place, a flow state. Well, in baseball, it's the game creates the anxiety. I'm in the box, guy on the mound. Let's get it on. Even for you, getting in the batting cage for a while, people watching, there's anxiety there. You're Jim Thome. You're supposed to crush the ball a million feet. What don't you want to do? I don't want someone to beat me, right? So when I get anxious, I get out front, right? So what a key for a hitter to say, man, if you really want to control your demeanor and you want to control your vision and see the ball, that breath is everything. That breath means so much. A deep breath to get your body in position where you can see the ball, let it travel, and then hammer it. So I love that, Jimmy. I think that's something we can go in the cages and hit all we want, but if we can't get our body to a state where we can perform, it doesn't matter how many swings you took. It just doesn't. It doesn't. So, Jimmy, as you move on, brother, I got one question about the you always, I got your bat right here, as a matter of fact, right here, brother. I appreciate this.
Yes.
I appreciate this. It was, you gave it to me when I was in Detroit. You had hit your 500th home run just recently, and you sent me a bat over. I always was interested about the knob, the tape job that you did on this knob.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that? Why'd you tape your bats like this?
So in 96, I broke my hamate bone.
Oh, yes.
I broke my hamate bone, and I wrapped my hand. Where's a bat in here? So I wrapped my hand around the knob like this. Okay. Oh. And what that did, taping that, I could now rest the bottom of my pinky area, that cushion.
Pull it up a little, Jim. Show us again.
Let me see that, Jimmy. Pull it up. Let me see it.
So this is not taped to like your back. So I used to. Can you guys see me?
No. Just hit the video. There you are. Now there you go.
Okay. So I wrapped my hand around the bottom of the knob, and that over time is, I think, torquing and more rolling over. Actually, was why I think over time, Case, I broke my hamate bone. And when that happened, and I came back, I taped it, and that cushion on the bottom of the bat really helped me. Oh. Well, it made it feel good more than anything. So,
well, it worked. But you were, Jimmy, your signature move, bro, was, you get spread out, boom, and then, you did almost the point at the batter. It was kind of your signature. You pointed the bat at the pitcher, and then right when he was about to come, you'd get in your stance. Why did you start doing that?
So that was actually when we were in Scranton. Charlie Manuel called me in, and he used to watch me, Case, from behind. Okay, and I had no rhythm. Like the whole key to hitting is rhythm, flow, kind of getting that back and forth dancing in the box. And Charlie called me in, and the movie The Natural was on. And for some reason, he saw Roy Hobbs kind of preset. I don't necessarily Roy might have held the bat out in one of those clips.
Yeah.
And Charlie liked the rhythm of what Roy Hobbs was doing in that movie. So he's like, hey, we went out, and he goes, why don't you try just to hold the bat out there? And as the pitcher moves, that's when you come back and get into your position. And what I was doing was standing from a standstill, just kind of going forward, and had let's see here. You guys see me?
Yeah, no. Hit video.
Actually,
there you are. Yeah,
there you go.
Ironically, Charlie Manuel keeps calling me.
Are you serious? Oh no, come on. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's Charlie Manuel that's calling me. Actually, he must
put him on speaker.
He must be listening to us out there. And anyway, so we try this, guys. We try this, but the key to it all was when he had me point the bat to get my trigger mechanism back into the slot. He also moved me closer to the plate. And he said to me, he goes, look, where we're going to move you, I don't want you to think about anything but hit the ball out front. He goes, don't think hitting the ball the other way. He goes, your plate coverage will give you the coverage that if the ball beats you, you'll hit the ball through the middle the other way. But the goal is we want you not to be taking pitches on the corners. We want you to create this, I got plate coverage during my at-bat.
Well, real quick, and did you have more trouble inside or outside at that point? Like, what were the corners that you're talking about?
I would say inside, because now by moving on the plate, Chinch, what it did is balls were inside. They seemed way in, but they were actually strikes. Mm-hmm. And the ball away was now down the middle, which most pitchers don't really like to pitch in. I mean, the guys like Pedro and Clemens and those guys, they pitch in a heartbeat. But this was the deal. At some point, they had to throw a strike. And Charlie's theory was, we're going to give you the coverage to be able to cover the ball that's away. Now that ball's in the middle of the plate to you. Mm-hmm. And look, I mean, things quickened up. It quickened up. But I will tell you this, the plate coverage that I got moving forward and the confidence of how he set me up from a pre-get ready, it all flowed, and when it clicked. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, man. Like the genius of Charlie Manuel, because you're not talking so much about so many technique things, so much mechanics. Obviously you guys did mechanical stuff, but what I'm seeing a lot of is rhythm, timing, vision, plate coverage. You know what I mean? We haven't said anything about our swing, but there's so many things that go into that. Like, oh wait, get on top of the dish and take away the inside fastball. Now if it's black, it's nasty, and if it's in, it's in because you're on top of the plate. And the pitch middle away now looks down the middle. And you, like you said, Jimmy, at the end of the day, pitchers, whether you're at the big league level or high school level, they don't love to pitch in. It's their kryptonite. They have to really work at pitching in. So, I mean, just an ingenious way to look at it. When you were with the Indians, Jimmy, and you came up, I know I got drafted in '95, and I was a second round pick, and they brought me out on the field, and I'm like, oh yeah, and they introduced you. I was so excited to be out there. But I remember looking out there and saying, wow, there's some monsters out here. Like this is a big old team. But there was a couple guys that I remember on that team in '95, and I just wonder what influence they might have had on you. I saw Dave Winfield and Eddie Murray on that '95 team. Yeah. Now they were at the end of their careers, and you were really just starting your career, right? You were just getting to the level where you were that elite player. Can you talk about the impact an Eddie Murray or Dave Winfield might have had on you and your approach?
I mean, in so many ways. I mean, both are true when you get to know them, as we were fortunate as teammates. You really get to see the gentlemen that they were. They cared about their teammates. I remember Dave Winfield and I, after a day game in Toronto, going to like an early dinner, and Dave just talked about playing in the big leagues and, handling your money and the things that were going to happen if you were blessed and fortunate to keep playing, and the things and the challenges that might happen during that course of your career. And and to this day, I thank Dave for that. He's a wonderful man. Dave, like Eddie, they both, what I loved about their games, and they were different styles of player, but you would never know if they were hot or if they were 0 for 8. They had this controlled demeanor all the time. They knew they were great, especially at that point in their career. But they were so, like Eddie's nickname, Steady Eddie, they were so steady and so consistent about their demeanor. And that helped us as young players to understand that culture that they had all the years in their other organizations. Bringing them in and just watching them was so much fun. I mean, I remember Eddie on planes. He would sit there, if he called you over, you ran over to him. And, it was just a cool, and not only Eddie and Dave, we had Oral Hershiser, we had Dennis Martinez, with all these great young up and coming players that we had. It was really genius of John Hart, the way John brought in these older veterans. But boy, they knew how to conduct themselves in a way that was going to rub off on us young guys in a great way.
Yeah, and if I could just quickly interrupt there, I would guarantee, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I guarantee they're both in their 40s. I think they had to be late 30s, early 40s. How much does the game miss that guy today for you, Jim?
100%. I mean, Chinch, it takes so much pressure off of the manager when you have a 37 to 40-year-old sitting the bench. I mean, I look at guys like Konerko, when Giambi was late in his career with Cleveland. Yep. I was fortunate in Minnesota and playing 3 days, 4 days a week. But the impact you can have on younger guys, and they soak it all in, man, like that. Having a veteran on the bench, like this year's Dodgers, with Pujols. I mean, having Albert around, you can't tell me Albert just giving scouting reports and facing guys over years and years of at-bats, like, you can't tell me that didn't help. Like Utley, when Chase Utley was there, same thing. I mean, these guys were all-star epic hitters and to iconic hitters, and to be able to give that information to young guys is so valuable. I truly miss it in the game that you have a guy that plays 3 days a week, but is really another manager out of respect to the manager.
Yeah, I agree. I think that player needs to come back. I think nowadays the 30-year-old player is starting to get pushed out, let alone the 36, 37.
Yeah.
These guys can still play, and to have that veteran, that's how you get good chemistry. You get good chemistry with young guys, veteran players, teaching them the game, and it all kind of comes together, I think. Jimmy, when you go back to that team, I got caught up with the 97 Indians. Man, I was so fortunate, bro. So fortunate to get caught up with that team with the likes of, was it Tony Fernandez, Manny Ramirez,
Justice.
Omar Vizquel, Dave Justice, Marquise Grissom, Travis Fryman. No, Matt Williams. Matt Williams was that third time, raking. Sandy Alomar Jr. You guys were loaded. I mean, I remember being really nervous when Richie Sexton and I got called to the clubhouse. I remember in Chicago just being really nervous to be in there. Like, man, look at all these superstar players. After that, and after those, after the you take your first flight, we go Chicago to Kansas City. Jimmy was so nice. He's like, "Hey, Case, why don't you come in the back of the plane and sit with me?" And I'm like, "Wow, are you sure? I don't think I should do that. I don't think I should do it." It's like, I'm doing it. So I go in the back of the plane for my first big league flight. I'm sitting next to Jimmy in the back of the 747. It's me, Jimmy, Oral Hershiser, Matt Williams, Dave. You're with the big boys, right? And remember Jeff Manto? Remember Mick Manto? Great guy.
Yes.
Mick had just been called up. He turns around. He's like, "Case, what the hell are you doing back there?" I'm like, ask Thome. He said I could sit with him. You know what I mean? So I always appreciated that. But that team was so loaded. And I think that's the one team, as a Cleveland Indians fan, you go back and say, man, that 97 team, well, I mean, obviously the 95 team was unbelievable, all those teams, but that 97 team was so close. Can you just take us back these years later, Jimmy, and go back to Game 7 in that series against the Marlins and just, how did that unfold, and how do you still feel about it? And
you're disappointed. You're disappointed because, look, Case, I mean, to get to a Game 7 is everybody's dream, man. And at the end of the day, I'll go back to August. We got hot at the right time. We kept rolling, went into postseason, and that was the classic case of just a team late in the year that just kept doing this. We just got hot, stayed hot. And you look, at the end of the day, I mean, we put ourselves in position to win a World Series, and that's all you can ask for. Every guy on that team played a huge role. I mean, is it disappointing? Yeah. And if you ask everybody, they're going to say the same. It's really hard to get that close and not accomplish that ultimate. But I say this, the old saying, you're in the arena, you got to be there to experience it.
I love it.
Boy, being in a Game 6 in 95 in Atlanta, and then obviously, unfortunately in Game 7, not pulling it out. But what I remember most is just, our support system, and, we were truly brothers, man. And when you win at the highs, you win together. And when you lose together. And that's part of the game, as you well know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that man in the arena too. Listen, you got to be there to have the highs and the lows. And, and in Major League Baseball, you're guaranteed to have some highs and some lows. I mean, you're guaranteed to have some disappointment.
I've never walked away from a game mentally. I mean, when you're playing defense in extra innings in Game 7, like,
oh my God.
And this Case, I mean, like I wasn't a Gold Glove infielder. I had to work really, really hard.
So did I. Yep.
To just, I was around great infielders, and for your pride, you really wanted to fit in. You wanted to, I think I became an adequate, good first baseman, but never great. But you play defense in Game 7 in that environment. It is some kind of intense, man. It to this day, that emotion, like it was the most draining game of my career, walking off that field and not winning a world championship. That was really hard.
Yeah. Wow, man. But like you said, man, what an opportunity. You got to Game 7.
Yeah.
So close. And, I think that's one of the things too, when I look back, Jimmy, at your career with the Indians, you had met Andrea in Cleveland, your wife, so many wonderful things there in Cleveland. And then it came time when free agency came, it came time to make a decision. And you ended up going to Philadelphia and Charlie Manuel was the manager there, right? When you were there. Can you talk about that decision? How hard was that for you to leave Cleveland and go to Philadelphia?
It was hard. It was, because you spend a long time in one place. You have many connections. Now looking back, I can say the same with Philadelphia and making that decision. I think as a man, you live with your decisions. And, I now looking back at the whole deal is I am so grateful I got that opportunity to play in a city like Philly and to go there. Like, I learned so much, Case, just about growing up and playing on the East Coast. Man, was it intense in a great way. I am very grateful to the Philly fans for how they treated me from day one. And coming in there, look, like going to the ballpark every day in Philly, I knew even in Cleveland every day, like you had to post up. Like there's this sense of responsibility as an everyday player in Cleveland. But in Philadelphia, like they'll let you know if you're not hustling, they'll basically lay it on the line and let you know. And I loved that pressure cooker. I loved it. And look, it was a very difficult decision to leave. I had great friends. I was in an organization that gave me my first opportunity. But looking back, sitting here, I am also so grateful that I had the chance to go to Philly and grow and learn also and become a man and play on the East Coast.
Right. Sorry, Case, I'm going to give this one and then you jump in after that, because you're talking about going to that city and what it meant to you and what it was like. And it seems like it was very similar to the lifestyle you had growing up, in a working man's ethic growing up. And there's this quote I read here. When Thome visited the Phillies as a prospective free agent, a cold November day in 2002, he stopped to visit electricians outside of Citizen Bank Ballpark. It says, by the visitor center, the crew from the local 98 had spray painted signs saying, trying to recruit you to the place. And the quote was from Pat Rooney. That's Jim. He just said, let me get out and shake these guys' hands. He said they reminded him of the guys he knew growing up in Peoria. Was that what it was like playing in Philly?
So we toured the new ballpark. We had one more year at the Vet, and then we toured the ballpark. And here's these electricians, these construction, hardworking guys. It was cold weather, and they're holding signs that say, "We want Thome. We want you." And I thought, like, I was so taken by, like, it was really special. Yeah. So, we were leaving, we were flying out, and I go, guys, we got to stop. And I jumped out and just shook their hands. I mean, I was so appreciative that it felt like I had never had someone like do that. It, it just felt so cool in the moment to have somebody and a group of hardworking men. I just wanted to thank them. Look, I mean, that's the great thing of sports, guys, is, there's fans in Cleveland that do it. There's fans of Philadelphia. There's fans in New York. And when they do it as a player, it's your obligation to show them back how much you appreciate it and how much that means. At the end of the day, they didn't really need to do that. They didn't. But to do that really meant a lot. And all I wanted to do was thank them.
That's really cool. I remember like when you hit your 400th home run against us when I was with the Reds, and that city loved you, bro. I mean, everyone loves you where you Cleveland loved you, obviously. But I remember those Philly fans, like when you perform, there in Philly, it was definitely of a feeling of like a roar that, that's a little different in that city. You know what I mean?
It is some kind of intense, and you get into big games in Philadelphia. Like I really felt like that fan base, for an opponent to come play in Philadelphia, there was this edge from the fan base that we had it in Cleveland in the 90s. We did.
Yeah. Oh, it was scary.
I mean, at the Jake, when you came into Jacobs Field and you knew that our offensive teams were going to come at you, like we had this special, same in Philly, there's this special feeling the fans are giving the player that we're going to win this game. Both had it, and I was very lucky to play in both.
Yeah. Wow. You've been fortunate, man. You're a blessed man for all the places that you played. You grew up in Peoria, rooting for the White Sox, Cubs, whatever, Chicago, but you got a chance to go play for the White Sox back in 2006. Can you talk about that journey, Jimmy? Because I know your mom was sick with cancer and she ended up passing away. And then you being able to go back to Chicago allowed you to be by your dad and by your family again. Can you just take us through, I know your mom was a big part of your life, and take us through those times back when you got back to Chicago?
It was case at the time, it was truly great to come home and be with my family. We lost mom, and mom had gone through cancer, and to be able, this is what the game gives families. It gives families an opportunity to heal. And coming home to Chicago was a healing so huge for our family. We grew up, 2.5 hours from Chicago and Peoria, and to have them close and be able to share what we were all kind of going through with losing mom. You never want to be traded. It's not what you go to an organization is to be traded, but I really am grateful that the Phillies, because Ryan Howard emerged. He was an up and coming superstar, and the business of the game sometimes puts you in places where moves are, have to be made. And I really thank the Philly organization for letting me get an opportunity to go home during a very difficult time when mom had passed. I know it meant the world to dad to be able to jump in the car for a day game and just come watch baseball. It's little things like that, Case, that mean a whole 100%. Lot to us.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things about the game of baseball. It's like, it's a family game. It's it's America's pastime. And then you connect with your mom and your dad and your siblings through the game. And, I think that's what was so wonderful about you going back to Chicago. And then you have this moment in Chicago with a guy that hits his 500th home run is a walk-off at home in Chicago with your family able to be there, your dad. Man, take us through that moment. Can you just take us back to that at bat, if you don't mind, of what was going through your head and, after you hit the homer?
So the build up that weekend, you're sitting at 499, you're at home, this excitement, you grew up, basically in the same state you're playing.
Wow.
And you got fans from your hometown. So the level of excitement was very high. Andrea was pregnant with Landon. So Friday night, go out, don't hit a homer. Saturday, same thing. So now Saturday, and it's hard, Case, because they're stopping the game. They're changing the balls out. And oh, by the way, you got to hit a home run. Like, you got to hit. By the way, go ahead and hit me a home run. Yeah. So I'll be honest. The pressure now is like, woo, this is getting intense.
Right.
And now, so Sunday morning, I'll never forget this. I come down, it's a day game. We're packed. We're ready to leave for Kansas City. And Andrea, who's pregnant, who's right on the verge, she really can't travel. And she's like, will you just hit a home run today?
Is that what she said?
And I'm like, oh my God, now there's really a lot of pressure. So I'll never forget, I had an at bat. I think we faced Saunders. And I had an at bat where I lined out or hit a ball to left center. And I thought during that, when I had that at bat, I said to myself, I'm going to hit one today.
Oh, wow.
Because it kept me, Case, and you can attest this, it kept me on the ball. Like I didn't feel rushed. It was like boom. And the ball went to left center. And I thought, I'm going to hit a home run today. And as the game unfolded, my at-bats started getting better. And then obviously walking it off there in the ninth was just.
What was the pitch? Who was it off and what was the pitch?
Dustin Mosley.
Dustin Mosley. And what was the pitch?
It was a sinker out over the plate. Got 2 strikes. Worked it to 2-2. Might have even been 3-2. And it was a ball. I didn't pull off. I stayed right and hit it to the left of center field where I lined out on the lefty. And that's when I knew, because my direction was more centered to the middle of the field. Wow. And that's when it happened.
My God. Wait, I got a quick question. So I think you are the only player in history to hit your 300th, 400th, 500th, and 600th home runs with different teams. Is that right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, he didn't even know that. What was the hardest ball to get back?
I was very, very lucky over the years. You know, like as I got into like the early 4s, mid 4s, I started collecting. I started collecting baseballs because I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like you're tying, you know, the greats. You know, you tie McCovey or when I tied Mickey Mantle, it was like, oh my gosh, you're tying Mickey Mantle. Oh my God. And I thought, you know what? Like, this would be a really cool thing to give back to my kids and the fans. There was one time, and I can't remember, but there was one time, very few times, did we ever not get the ball, you know? And we were always, like, I will say this, the cool part of it was always meeting the fan. Right. We'd always, we ordered special bats and would sign or give them a ball. If they wanted a jersey, we'd offer tickets. Like the process was just the last 3 or 4 years of the interaction with different fans was so cool. That's crazy. I got to tell you, it wasn't like, it was just the generosity that they gave the ball back was great, but also having that interaction was really cool.
Yeah.
What about Jimmy? What about 600? You go to Minnesota, and you know, I mean, come on, man! I hit 130, and I feel like, man, I'm telling my kids, like, Dad circled the pills 130 times, kids. Like, it's a lot. That's 600 homers is in a different stratosphere. And I know for you that was a stressful time too. Can you take us back to that your 600 homer in Detroit with Minnesota? And what it was like to get that.
Ironically, the same thing happened, Case. I hit a home run for 599 to left center off Porcello. Wow. You know Porcello, sinker out over the plate, didn't try to pull it, line drive, it goes out in our bullpen, out in left center. So now I'm sitting at 599. And they get the baseball. The baseball then comes, I'm DHing, so I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm doing my work, staying into the game, and boom, I look up, Case, and I'm hitting the following inning. It snuck up like, oh my, I'm hitting. And they bring in Daniel Schlereth. Remember Daniel?
Oh, yeah, Daniel Schlereth.
Yes. His dad was the offensive lineman for John Elway on the Broncos.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Daniel comes in, and I can't remember. I might have said to Kadir, hey man, I'm gonna sit on a slider and I'm gonna go deep to left center. And I was committed to just not look for the fastball because I knew hitting number 599, I knew I was probably going to see a slider at some point, and was fortunate, got a slider out over the plate. And and then Andrea, my dad came onto the field. It was just, again, it's moments that now when we're retired guys and we look back and we can talk about it, it's just so great.
Yeah. Wow, man. Wow.
I don't think I've ever done anything 600 times in my life.
Oh my gosh.
It was fun to share those moments with really, I was very fortunate to play in some great organizations. All the organizations, they always wanted to win. They had great players. And this case, this better than anybody. You played with some great ones in Cleveland, in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Like, you're only really as good as those guys around you, because when you have good offenses, like it's the revolving door, right? Like if a guy gets hot, maybe another two guys will step in. We all fed off of each other in a great positive way.
No, that is the truth, man. And you played with some good ones. I was fortunate to play with some good ones too. Some great ones. You being one of them. Jimmy, I think one of the things with you, bro, is that like when you go back and look at some of your homers, some of them are epically far. Just the way it goes. Not everyone hits home runs the way Mark McGwire or Jim Thome or Ken Griffey Jr. hits them. And I could think of a few. The one you hit out in Jacobs Field, you hit out of the stadium, dead center, which if you go to Jacobs Field and you look at how far that is, it's so far. What were a couple of the home runs that impressed you the most from you that you look back and go, well, that was impressive right there?
Yeah. I would say one that really stands out was the one I hit into the Sky Dome restaurant in Toronto. Was off Pat Hinken.
Oh, my God.
That was a day game. Hinken threw one. It was out over the plate. And it was just, like as a middle of the order guy, like when you connect, you kind of don't feel it. That was one. I would say the flagpole in Minnesota, the one that hit the top of the flagpole, the walk-off against, I believe.
Is that it?
Is that it?
This one here against Thornton was, that was special because I had just left Chicago and doing that against the White Sox. And then we had built like a 3-4 game lead. It's moments, right? Like there was one homer I hit in old Cleveland Stadium where mom and dad traveled from Peoria.
Wow.
And I get called up. Like I went back, I got hurt, I got called back up. And in old Cleveland Stadium, I hit a ball out to left center. And I'm rounding third. And as I'm coming to home plate, I cross home plate and my parents are right there. And I locked eyes with both of my parents. And that from an emotional, sentimental end was there's just, the 600, the 500 walk-off where your teammates lift you up on their shoulders. I've been very blessed and fortunate to have really had some really cool moments, and I'm so grateful for that.
5 All-Star games too, bro. Can you give us a moment that you look back and go, that was really cool?
The all-century team in Boston case was just, we were fortunate. You and I shared a few All-Star games together.
Yep.
And, watching those all-century guys come through center field. Dad, who was a big fan of history, I remember Dad talking about Ted Williams and Killebrew and Hank Aaron and, and all of a sudden, I hope one day that it's duplicated where in baseball we can do an all-century type deal again, because that moment in Boston was, I don't know where you guys were, But as a player, here I am. I get voted in. I'm starting and I'm doing my warm-ups, and this is going on. And I've got chills like as these guys are coming into the ballpark. It was the coolest moment. It really was.
Dude, that was my first All-Star game on the other side. And I say the same thing, bro. Like, it was one of the coolest moments ever to have these all-century guys there. Then when Ted Williams came out from center field and drove in that cart, and then we all threw out the first pitch, I thought that was one of the greatest moments of my career, being on the mound with him. What was it like for you, bro, starting that game and watching Pedro do what he did?
Amazing. Truly. I mean, you talk about a guy, and you know this. One of the things I remember when we faced Pedro and then playing by, like, the game went so quick because he got the baseball. He had this confidence on the mound like no other. Like, I mean, Randy had it. Clemens had it. Pedro, there was something special about his demeanor on the mound. And when he struck out, was it 5 in a row?
Yeah, 5. I think it was for 5 of 6. 5 of the first
5 of 6. And just for him to do it in front of his home team, his hometown, and it was impressive. I got to tell you, like, that was really, there's moments, man. There's moments that I've experienced, even from guys doing things that you think, wow, like, this is history. I watched the other day on the network, Jim Abbott's no-hitter against us in Cleveland.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that was when you look at that story as a competitor, you're trying to get hits, but then watching it now, you go, right, gosh, there's all these little moments in baseball that the great game gives us that we can all reflect back on and just smile.
Well, but also the reason between you guys, like, as a fan, me and my dad share those moments. That's what the way you feel, like, when you guys are talking about Fenway and that game and everything, everybody shares them. It's almost like we get to share. You guys got to play in the big leagues, but me and my dad and everybody else's kids, whatever, we get to share them with you. And I think there's a beauty of that in baseball that it's not in any of the other sports as much as the feeling. Like, I feel like I was there with you guys, even though I was sitting on the couch with my dad watching it, Yeah,
no, it's the truth. It's the truth. And we talk about a moment for you, though, Jimmy, as we kind of put a bow on this whole thing, you get the call back in 2018. And not only do you get the call, I think it was one of the greatest classes ever. And you got Vlad Guerrero goes in, Alan Trammell goes in, Jack Morris goes in, and Trevor Hoffman goes in. I mean, those are big time names that, transcended the game. Where were you when you got the call, and what were the emotions going through your mind after you got that call?
I was here. I was at home. And the emotion, I'd never forget, like, that morning, it was just a feeling like no other. It's, about mid-morning, you get the television trucks pull up, but really, truly, you don't know if you're going to get the call or not. and all of a sudden, when the call comes in, and it was just absolutely incredible. It was. And then sharing that with my family, and and then the process then from that day on to the induction, the prep, the things that you fly to New York, you do your press conference. As you said, what a class. I feel so humbled and honored to have gone in with those guys, all guys that I would have loved to have played with, that were great players. And just then the prep for your speech, for that great day. It's truly one of the greatest 3 days process of your induction that you'll ever go through, to be on the bus going to the induction. Our our golf member.
Yes. Oh, so grateful. Thank you. I was in your foursome for the golf outing. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. So as a Hall of Famer, you get to invite 3 guys for your foursome. And we had, it was so great, so special. And to watch Dad during the induction, to watch Andrea, to watch my brothers and sisters, you watch your kids. Here you are on this stage, and you look out, and there's 50 to, depending on the induction, 75,000 people out in front of you. But to know what's behind you, that fraternity that you're going to join is just,
oh my God.
It is so great, guys. It is. Wow. And then the dinner, like the meeting and getting to know the Hall of Famers now on a one-on-one and truly calling them family has just been so great.
Jimmy, isn't there a tradition where Johnny Bench, or something, you're in a rocking chair and you're at the Osaga Hotel.
Yeah.
And can you take us through what was that like?
So yeah, I mean, and Johnny's such a great ambassador to our game, what he's done to the game. You've been fortunate to meet Johnny in Cincinnati, yes, and what Johnny Bench, the name, means to our game. And when Johnny, not to get too deep into it, but him welcoming you amongst others into their fraternity, it's special. It is something I know I'll never forget. I'll never forget, I'll never forget the dinner. I'll never forget getting invited to the table that you're assigned to sit at. And it's truly, it has been a special ride from, since 2018.
Jim, you're at a big hitter table, right? Aren't you in the home run hitting table? Is that a fact? Is that how that works? Don't you?
I was at the table, I guess, of the home run hitters.
There you go. Who's in there? Who's there with you?
Well, depending on who's in the induction, I mean, there's Griffey, obviously Griffey, Eddie Murray, Dave Winfield, all your guys that were guys that hit the ball out of the park. It's very, very cool. It's a good moment. Then you got all the great starting pitchers, and then the infield. It's look, guys, it's what you dream of. It's sometimes I think, has this really all happened? I do. And, I was a kid that grew up in Peoria. I loved the game. I had to work really, really hard to keep accomplishing and trying to get better. I was blessed to be around great teammates, which I'm so grateful, because you're only, as we said, you're only as good as the people around you. And, but at the end of the day, it's guys like Charlie Manuel and those special ones that have played and had such an impact on your career. Those are the guys you look at and you go, they should be here too, because they helped us get to this point.
What about at the induction, Jimmy? Because I never forget, I was so thankful to be there. I was so grateful to be in your foursome, at your party with your dad, with your whole family, with your brothers. Love your family. They're wonderful. But your daughter singing the national anthem.
Oh, man, Case.
I'm about to cry, and she's not my daughter. Can you just take us through?
No.
What was that like, man?
I remember looking over, and she was so calm. So Lila went to the Academy of the Arts. She's got a beautiful voice. She, as a young girl, she sang some performing theater arts. They called it stage door here in Hinsdale. And it was so great to watch these young kids get on stage and basically dance and perform and sing, and to watch the composure and the calmness and how they you could see their confidence, like what it brought and what it did to them was so great. And to watch her, I'm thinking, oh my, this is truly, I'm glad I went last, in my speech because if I would have let off, it would have been really, really hard to.
You'd have been a mess.
I would have been a mess. It was. I look at pictures today of her on stage, and the daughter-dad bond. There's nothing like it. As you know, you've got daughters, and to watch them succeed and watch your kids succeed, but to watch her succeed on that level and to do beautiful, it was something she'll always remember, and our family.
That's awesome, man. Gosh, what a storybook run, brother. It's just a dream. Actually, it almost sounds like you're talking about a dream, but it's all really happened to you.
And well deserved. And well deserved.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of hard work, and we understand that. We do two things in the mayor's office, Jimmy, to end it here.
Yeah.
We got two little games we play. One of them's called Who Owned You and Who'd You Own?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. I got the stats here if you don't
And
remember.
don't go all humble Jim Thome on us too and not tell us who you owned. We know you
So
owned.
I would say who owned me would be Jesse Orozco.
Jesse Orozco.
Really?
Why?
Wait a minute.
Because he was lefty and he was nasty. I would say on the reverse, I would say three guys. I'll just name three guys that I know I hit well.
Yep.
And one was Verlander, Clemens, and Rick Reed.
They're at the top of your homer list. Rick Reed, 9.
Yes.
Clemens, 8. Verlander, 7. One guy, however, though, who you didn't mention who owned you is somebody that pitched every day. Do you know who that is?
Was it Markham?
No. Everyday Eddie Guardado.
Everyday Eddie, yes.
We're looking at 182 with 20 Ks and 33 ABs and 0 dingers.
Yeah. I think when I went into Minnesota, Everyday Eddie knew he was coming in from the 7th inning on.
Yeah. But
He was.
you also dominated Milton, Musina. You got Bobby Witt, probably never wanted to face you. 417 with 6 homers, 16 RBIs, and 24 at-bats.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Okay, well, I'll give you a couple
So-
more good ones. One more good
so-
one. Scott Erickson, 441, 4 bombs, 11 ribbies, and 34 at-bats.
Those are all nasty pitchers, too. I got a question. Against Verlander and Clemens, what was your approach? Were you sitting heater?
No, I mean, Case, I would say this about you. I enjoyed hitting the fastball.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Like there was no thinking involved. Like, oh, I'm facing Justin Verlander. Are you going to sit on his changeup? Are you going to look for a curveball? No. I knew at some point with those guys, and they were right-handers. I saw the ball well on certain right-handers. For me, fortunately, they were those guys. And, I liked hitting guys that loved their fastball. I did. It was a challenge. It was that inner competitive, like me against you. Now, I knew I was a swing and miss guy. I knew they would get me out. But that cat and mouse of going back and forth in big situations. I remember a time, I remember doing well against Verlander. Then I remember a time he came into Minnesota and he basically dominated me one night in Minnesota. I think I struck out 4 times. Wow. And he sat from like 96 to 100.
Oh, my God.
And basically, that was a tough night, but that's the fun part, right? Like, he knew he got me. I knew I got him. Yeah. And the fun part was who's going to win.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's what that's what I missed the most about competing is that inner feeling you get when you walk from on deck in that box is nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yeah, it's so true, man. I missed that too, bro. I missed that wrestling match. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
I love it.
So the last thing we do, Jimmy, is a game called 9 and 90. Chinch rattles off 9 funny things. I'll answer first. You answer second.
Okay.
Chinch.
Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster Marty Brenneman here. It's time for 9 in 90, the most ridiculous segment in all of sports.
Take it away.
We simplify this. Yeah, so Casey, as soon as Casey answers, you just give your answer right after, okay? Normally, we don't do many sports questions or baseball questions specifically, but since we have Mr. Baseball here, nobody loves baseball more than this guy. The first one will be 1 for 5 with 4 Ks and a walk-off grand slam, or 5 for 5 with 5 singles and a walk-off RBI. What, Sean?
I'm probably going to go with the 5 for 5 just because I
You're a batting average guy.
Yeah, but I love the 5 knocks too. They're hard to come by in the big leagues.
I'm going to go walk off.
Of course you are.
Because I'll tell you why. Because we won the ball game.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
true.
like but boy, how do you not like a 5-hit day? I never had 5-hit days. So
there you go.
You never had one 5-hit day?
No, I'm joking. I'm not kidding. I don't believe.
Yeah,
No.
but dude, you were a good hitter though too, Jim. You weren't you were a good hitter, dude. Close to 300 in a lot of years, over 300.
All right, next question. This is more towards how 9 and 90 goes, Jim. Sean, would you rather be covered in scales or covered in fur?
Scales? Like, what do you mean? Like,
Well, the scales, like
fish scales?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah, I'd rather be covered in fur. I think I am covered in fur.
I'm going to go first. Same thing.
Okay. All right, this is a good one. You're rocking out to your favorite band at a concert. You're in the front row. Are you more of an air guitar guy or an air drum guy, Sean?
I'm more of a air drum guy, probably.
Okay.
I would go guitar.
Interesting.
I would go fake, like thinking that I was better than I am when I really wasn't. And like sitting there like, I'm into it.
Okay, excellent. This is a good one. Couch or recliner chair?
Oh, I'm a recliner chair guy, 100%.
100% couch.
Oh, wow.
100% couch. Through the last year and a half, COVID, just being around home more, which I'm very grateful. I don't like the fact of what COVID has brought, but from being at home and spending less time traveling, I have taken more naps on a couch so I am if you ask my wife, she would answer that question 100% nap, 30 minute, 45 minute quick nap in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Rejuvenates you. All right, here's a good one. Bacon, egg, and cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese, ham, egg, and cheese, or just egg and cheese, Sean?
Sausage, egg, and cheese. A really good sausage, egg, and cheese.
I would say sausage, egg, yeah.
Yeah, I
sausage,
think that's
egg,
my
and cheese.
That's my number one too. But sometimes you get a different vibe. But I'd go sausage too. All right, ready, Sean? Would you rather be able to run incredibly fast, which you don't do, or jump incredibly high, which I don't think you do either?
I wish I could have run a little faster. So probably run fast.
All right.
I would say for me, run fast.
Got it.
Yes, I would say if I could have beat a few more of those little infield hits, that would have been awesome.
That's great. Okay, this is a good one. Chips and salsa or chips and guac? You can only have one option.
You know what? I've turned into a chips and guac guy. I was chips and salsa my whole life, but I'm a chip and guac guy now.
100% salsa.
Oh, there we
Chips
go.
and salsa, yeah.
You mild, medium, or hot?
Even now, I will say this: Chipotle, I would go chips and queso.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I like the
forgot
queso.
about the
I like
queso.
the queso, yeah.
Queso's always great.
The queso at Chipotle is good.
Yeah. You know what, though? Every time you see queso, no matter where you are, and it could be really bad, I kind of always got to grab a queso on the side and try it. But, all right, here we go. Would you rather be a bullfighter or a lion tamer, Sean?
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I think a bullfighter, because then I got a shot to get out of the way. If I'm a lion tamer and it goes wrong, I'm just going to be eaten.
Okay.
Bullfighter, yes.
Okay, excellent. Easy enough. All right, you got your 9 and 90, Jim. Thanks,
Oh, man. Jimmy, brother, I just want to say thank you so much through the power outage, through making the adjustments.
Oh, wait.
Kitch and I have been really looking forward to this. And,
My guys.
Oh, yeah. And there's our picture of
Cleveland
the
All-Star
All-Star game. Yeah,
love you, man. Love
what
you.
a great pick. We love you, Jimmy.
Love you guys.
We're very grateful for your time, man. And I'll talk to you soon, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Tell
Andrew, you're the best.
Tell Andrew and the kids I said hi, and hope Lando's raking, brother. Okay, man. I'll see you soon, buddy.
Bye-bye.
See you, brother. Yep. Bye-bye. Chinch, you look back at my life, so grateful for all the people that I've come across, especially playing Major League Baseball. The fraternity is so small, but Jim Thome is one of my dear friends in life and in baseball, and was so kind. I mean, there's so many things. So there's so many ways to go. How kind he was to me when I came up with the Indians. I got traded to the Reds because I was behind Thome. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he was so kind to me. I used his glove my first year in '98 in the big leagues. I used Jim Thome's first baseman mitt that he gave me, that I used to pick balls in the mornings with him. We could have gone for 5-10 hours, dude.
And he would have politely done it.
He would have done it, dude. But just one of the greatest guys ever. I love that he had a power outage before he came on, that he ended up coming on his phone.
And he was nervous about upsetting us. Like, we would ever get upset by that guy. And like you said, talk about influences on your life. You're one of them on mine, of course. But not being, most people don't get to play baseball like you guys. And so sometimes baseball players or any professional in anything, athletes, musicians, whatever, sometimes they're not the greatest people in the world, but he is one of them. And I told my dad yesterday, I'm talking to my friend Jim tomorrow.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
And for me, as somebody who loves baseball as much as I did and wasn't as good as you guys, to be able to say, wow, this man looks at me like an equal. And I think what made him such a great leader and great person and great professional athlete, and why he's so deserving of everything, is that I think he looked at everybody. He looks at everybody as equal, and if you work hard, he'll be more impressed with you. And if you care about other people, he'll be more impressed with you, because that's how he lives his life. And it's just
one of the greatest human beings to walk the face of the earth, and also to play Major League Baseball. So very grateful he came on with us, and what another great show, Chance.
Yeah, buddy.
To be inside Jim Thome's mind on some of the greatest moments of his life.
No, you're one of the best.
Cool.
You're one of the best average hitters of all time, sitting and talking to one of the best home run hitters of all time. And if you people at home don't show this to your kids and their coaches and whatever, you're stupid.
So great, stupid suits. All right, Chinchy. Well, what's not stupid is listening to our show here. So whoever out there is enjoying the Mayor's Office show that we're doing, please subscribe, download, all that stuff. Like us, leave a review. We welcome it all. And we're very grateful for all the listeners that are listening to us and coming inside the Mayor's Office. Chinch, I love you, brother. I will see you next week. Always look forward to it. I'll talk to you tomorrow.